want me
Again,
to?
people, this is the stuff that we never edit out. Just so you all know.
So,
Responsible podcasters will edit this out.
welcome everyone to another edition of Drunk Agile. With me, as always, is
Pratik
the
Singh.
semi-sober Pratik Singh. Have you started? I don't know if you've started yet. We've kind of started, haven't
I,
we? I think we have.
yeah, we have. I didn't want the ice to melt too much. We were
So,
just sitting here randomly talking.
fair enough. So what is that? What do you have in your hand?
That's an old fashioned with a Woodford Reserve single barrel, 124.7 proof. I didn't like it neat too much, so this has been my go-to for old fashions
Yep.
of late.
I am figuratively and maybe literally, but figuratively scraping the bottom of the barrel. I just went to my whiskey cupboard. I'm down to two. I've only got two right now. One of them is this Garrison Brothers. So need to work on replenishing that stock. So um let me
How
introduce.
much is a new bottle of whiskey worth to you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, if anybody out there in TV land or podcast land wants to send me a bottle of whiskey, I wouldn't say no. Tonight's
You can
episode.
find Dan's address, phone number,
Yeah,
email
yeah.
address. Anything you want to send him. Anything.
Um, maybe Pratik has had a few already. Tonight's episode, in keeping in line with our, you know, X word is not what you think it is theme. We seem to have done a lot of those. Tonight's word is stability. This episode is brought to you by the word stability. Stability is one of those words that people love to throw out when they're first starting to learn about flow. They love to throw out this word stability, but unfortunately, again, it's stability is one of those words that, at least when it comes to flow and predictability, it's not really, it doesn't really quite mean what you think it means, right?
Yeah.
So if to borrow a phrase. So Pratik, start us off.
Yeah.
What's the problem with the word stability, or what is stability, or whatever you want to talk about?
Yeah, even before we get to the flow based definition of stability, um, for some reason over the past 20 odd years at least, as long as Agile's been around, when people say stability, they tend to mean stable teams. Doesn't change. This team doesn't. There's a team. There's a group of individuals that stays together for an extended period of time, and they work on similar kind of things together, and that is what stability is. Once we have a stable team, we'll get great results, stable results, whatever you want to call it. um, that's what stability has meant to a lot of people when especially agile folks say stability. There are at least two problems with this, and I think we're going to get into the second one quite a bit. But the the first problem with this is I I have never been on a team where there hasn't been a change of personnel or someone going on extended leave or the nature of the work completely changing for multiple years. It's just never been the case. Um, I believe it's Heidi Helfand who says as soon as one person joins or leaves the team, it's a completely new team. I have never been I don't think I have ever been on a team which for multiple years has been the exact same. So the stable team is a unicorn that we're chasing that we'll never find from that definition.
No. And just very
That
quickly,
Yeah.
special shout out to Heidi for her book on dynamic teaming, because I think
Yeah.
she's the one who's really popularized this concept of there's just no such thing as a quote unquote stable team. It's
Right.
it's never been her experience. I mean, that was her motivation, I think, for writing the book. It had never been her experience. It's
Mhm.
never been Pratik's experience. It's never been my experience. It's probably been never been any of your experiences. So if anybody wants to know a little bit more about this phenomenon and um, why you should embrace it, I guess that's a more important thing. Why you should necessarily, why it's
Yes.
not necessarily a bad thing. go check out Heidi's work, especially her book,
Yeah,
Dynamic Reteaming.
I am very sure we did an episode on anti-fragility, because this concept is essentially embracing that anti-fragility. Say the team may change, but we will get better because the team changes, rather than we will get worse because the team changes. If you are basing your performance on having a stable team, that's a huge assumption that's most likely going to come back to bite you. So that was the first problem. That was the first problem. You just are not going to, that traditional definition of stability is just not going to apply over time. The second problem is that not only can you not have a stable team, that's the first problem. Second problem is, when you say stability, you're talking about the wrong component. You're talking about the team being stable instead of the system being stable. And even that, I am pretty sure people are defining incorrectly. So, Dan, I'm gonna throw it to you for, what does it mean for a system to be stable?
Well, I mean, I just to maybe clarify that, I think we're
Yeah.
going to do this thing where we're not going to answer each other's questions tonight.
Yeah.
But just to clarify that last statement, you know, if your context, I'll say context for now, and then I'll talk about system in a second. But if your context is exactly what Pratik talked about, where people show up to your team, or people leave, or the work is constantly changing, or you're constantly interrupted by new work or whatever. If that is your context, then that is your system. And if that's what happens over and over and over again, then that is your system. And it's perfectly possible, especially when we start talking about how to define system stability, it's perfectly possible for that system to be stable, even though it sounds chaotic and it sounds wildly unstable. That system might be stable for all the things that we're going to mention here in just a second. So
Yeah.
don't necessarily.
I almost want to give a shout out to, actually, I am going to give a shout out to a student we had in a class we were doing today, Evangelo, who literally said, so if I am consistently inconsistent, does that mean I'm stable? Like, absolutely.
It certainly could. It certainly could. Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly could mean.
Yep. Just because your system, quote unquote, or sorry, just because your context, quote unquote, changes, doesn't necessarily mean your context changes on a regular basis, doesn't necessarily mean that your system is changing. Right now, there's a lot to unpack there, and I don't know how much we're going to be able to unpack in an episode while we're drinking whiskey. But let's take
About 10 minutes worth.
Let's take a shot. There are for us, I would say for us, two go-to definitions of system stability. And I don't think they're mutually exclusive. In fact, if I can speak for you, I would say, these, we look at both of these things, when we're talking about analysis on a given system, we probably look at both of these things. We have done, and maybe this is why we don't maybe go in too much detail about this, because we've done episodes on both of these things. The first definition of system stability comes from Dr. Little himself, and his assumptions behind the throughput version of his law, of Little's law. So again, like I said, it's one of the very first episodes I think we ever did was Little's law assumptions, and and things like that.
It's within the first 10 to 12, I'm sure.
Yeah. But as long as your process policies are following or adhering to Dr. Little's assumptions, then you are probably running a stable system, no matter what else was going on. As long as there's things like your arrival rate matches departure rate, and everything that enters the system exits the system, and all of this stuff, as long as those assumptions are met, you're probably running a stable system. Do you want me to go on to the second one, or do you want to talk about the second one?
No, I mean, actually, you've gone on about the second one for an entire book. So,
yeah. Well, at least half of an entire book.
At least
half of an entire book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the second one is Walter Schuett's version of stability. This is where Dan's Actionable Agile Metrics for Predictability Part 2, Volume 2 comes in, where and all of Dr. Wheeler's work comes in, where we talk about when you draw a proper control chart, a process behavior chart, which is a type of a proper control chart, you get to see, are there uh, is there only common cause variation, or is there some special cause variation? Even are there strong signals or weak signals of things becoming being out of control? That's the other way to figure out if whether your system is stable or not. Again, I don't think we have done episodes on process behavior charts, which we at some
I think
point
we have.
should
I
too.
think we have.
We
I think
have,
we have. I
man.
think we have.
Okay, then we have.
Who knows? I don't know. But everybody who's out there, please fact check us on this, because God knows what
Yeah.
we say and what we're talking about. But just to kind of double down on what Pratik said there, the whole idea behind Stewart's theory is the notion that a system necessarily is always fluctuating, right? That's why there's variation, right? Stewart is the first one to put his hand up and say, I don't care what process you're talking about. I don't care how you're measuring it. You will have a process that will fluctuate. And that those fluctuations will show up as variation in the data. It's like that's just the way of the world, right? You can't escape it, right? As much as you might want to, you can't escape it. The best you can do is to try and understand it. And the question that Short would ask is, I don't care that there's variation in your process, right? Like I said, where we expect that there will be variation. The question that Short wants to ask is, how much variation is too much variation? So the fact that things seem to be changing, quote unquote, changing in your context, resulting in variation in your system, that doesn't necessarily rise to the level of instability, unless we can take again a more scientific approach to this. Throw these things and throw your data and process behavior charts, and kind of look at the boundaries, the natural process limits, of your data as a hint, as a clue. Again, that doesn't even necessarily guarantee that your system is
Yeah.
changing, but as a hint for potential signal that, hey, maybe there's something weird going on here.
Yeah. It's because there's variability. You will again, to use the same language as before, you will always be consistently inconsistent. The question is, at what point are you way too inconsistent to not trust the data that the system's producing anymore, at
Yep.
least for stability and forecasting purposes? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when people come at us and say, we can't do Kanban, or we can't do flow because our work items are of different size. No shit, right? Of course, your work items are a different size. We can't do it because our team's always changing. We can't do it because we always have interrupt work. We can't do it. It's like, so, prove to me that those things that you're talking about rise to the level of violating some of these notions of stability that we're talking about, either Dr. Little or Dr. Short.
And this is probably bias. This is probably just heavy bias on my part. With all those things, the only thing I would recommend you do is to actually manage flow. Like, when you have so much instability in the traditional sense, when you have inconsistency, the best thing you can do is manage flow, is observe flow and see what's getting left behind and what's not getting done. I would not recommend anything other than that. But again, that might be bias on my part.
Doesn't sound biased to me, but then again, I might be biased too, right? So I don't know. I mean, like I said, if you want a lot more detail on any of these topics,
Yeah.
please see our previous videos. We will, I don't know, will we look up the links and for those videos and put them in here, or
Yeah, right now we have every intent to, but I don't think we've ever talked about this. We have never talked about this. We should probably do an experiment on, and not an experiment, but an episode on how we record these episodes and put them out.
Oh God,
Because
yeah.
the amount, yeah,
Behind the
because the
scenes
amount
Drunk
of effort
Agile.
that goes into it. But yeah, right now we have every intent to. But by the time this gets to the editing floor, we don't know.
Well, that's the thing. I was going to say we could put together an outtakes episode, but pretty much every episode is an outtake episode.
It's an
So,
outtake episode.
yeah. So go take a look at that. The what we're trying to get across here, and maybe we've done a good job of it, maybe we haven't, but what we're trying to get across here is you might have, all of you viewers out there, you might have a notion of what stability means in your mind. Your managers might have a notion of what stability means. Your, God forbid, agile coaches might have a notion of stability means. What I hope we've done is kind of plant the seed of, you know what, stability doesn't necessarily mean not changing, not consistent, not variable, not whatever. That's not stable. Doesn't mean set and rigid and whatever. You can, and you not only can you, but it would be impossible to do otherwise, design a system that will gracefully handle these types of things that you think are causing you to be unstable. The question is, I think the question that we need to ask is, are these things causing too much? Too much of some of these stuff. Is it causing an explosion of work in progress? Is it causing too much variation in our system? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those to me are more the questions we should be asking, rather than is our process stable or not. Final word, Pratik?
Don't trust your definition of stability. Trust the definition of stability that Little and Stewart have given you.
That wasn't meant to be a trick question. Didn't mean to put you on the spot here. Didn't know.
I was like, we've covered all of this.
This is an interview, kind of back and forth.
We covered all of this.
Like panic look on your face there.
I was like, what? You were wrapping it up.
You want me
Again,
to...
people, this is the stuff that we never edit out. Just so you all know.
So
responsible podcasters will edit this out.
As always, with his keen insight, I want to thank Pratik Singh for joining us tonight. So for Pratik, my name is Daniel Vacanti. Thanks to all of you for joining. God, please come back. All of you, please come back and keep listening. Even after you listen to this one, we really love to have you here, and we hope to see you in the next episode. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
If you like this content, all of you know how YouTube works. Please like and subscribe to this channel. We'd love to get your feedback and love to put more quality content out for you. Pratik, what else can they do?
Use the links in the description to reach out to us. You can find us on LinkedIn. See if there's a way we can work together. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'd love to see you. Thanks everybody for watching, and we hope to see you again very, very soon.